Hello everyone, it's the week we've all been waiting for. We're finally taking the new Indycar Light to Spa. I've been looking forward to this one because I've been wanting to get this car around a track which is full length and has plenty of space for it to stretch its legs. And this was a great race to start the week for me. Starting at the back, and I had a good time getting up through the field. We'll see how that goes for me, but it's
10
also going to look a
laps.
little
Okay, mate,
different
get
because
ready.
I did make a bit of a mistake on the recording, so I've had to go back into the replay and redo everything. Now we're getting underway. That is the green flag there, and we're going to lose a position straight away. I'm kind of playing it safe because I was expecting a lot of chaos. Spa is very popular, and that normally means that a lot of people get very aggressive around here because they consider it their home track. Through turn one, though, not a lot of going on, so we're just going to try and settle in behind the car in front, but I can see they are going too wide, so I'm trying to back off, give some space. I want that Williams livery to slot in behind the car in front, and indeed they do, so we're not going to lose too much momentum going up Rouge, but we are now on the long Kempel straight, and we are carrying a lot of downforce on this fixed setup, so these cars will not go too fast, but that does mean the push-to-pass system with that extra 50 brake horsepower does that a little bit more. Now into Le Com, and we are just doing this gingerly. There's a lot of downforce, but the tyres are still cold. But I nearly go into the back of Rover there in front of us, who checks up all of a sudden, probably getting caught out by that Williams that got past him. Now through the long right, just holding pace still, not really trying to go for too much at this stage because you can see just how bunched up the cars are in front of us. But Rora's slow on the exit out of No Name, so I'm going to have a look to the inside because I have a lot of confidence on this line. And we get helped because Rora checks up again, getting caught out by that Williams, and then goes wide through Puon, so that just makes it an easy overtake on this opening lap. Now, Piff Paff, I absolutely adore this section, but with so many cars in front of me, I'm still being very cautious. The guy behind also respecting that, doing the same, so we are really all just in a nice single line. Hopefully people will start to spread out a bit more and I can really start pushing at the stage. Now, coming out of Stavlo, I actually brush wide. You've got to be careful coming out of there. The car has a tendency to wash out, and with the curbing being so high, you can bottom out and lose control easily. And the same goes as well through Blanchimont. That inside curb is a little bit high with a bit of a dip before it, and the car will bottom out if you go over that. So you got to be careful there as well. Now I'm going for a clean line into the bus stop, which ends me right up behind Bernard. We have the Williams to the outside, so I'm just going to hook the inside, and Bernard is very slow on the apex, and we get caught up behind him, so that Williams is going to get past us here, and we're stuck on the outside now of Bernard into the source. Just going to see if I can make it work, though. I have to really brake hard there to avoid the car in front, and there's been an incident, and we get caught up in that as well. Thankfully, it looks like we got away with no damage, but we've lost a good few seconds in that incident. I'll have to have a look and see exactly what happened there with those two. We'll follow on board with this Porsche car, who is really the innocent party. Focus on the car in front coming into the source, and they just have that big lock-up, knocking the innocent car in front of them. And then this Porsche gets tangled up, and they really are stuck together there. We caught the edge of it, thankfully, as you'll see later, but here that poor black car is just turning in for the corner and doesn't have a chance to really respond. And with these Formula cars, when you get tangled up like that, it's very difficult to get unstuck. Eventually, the Porsche did tow, and we actually get a good look here at how detailed that engine is on the Indy Light. iRacing's modelers have really outdone themselves with how good this one looks, even if this isn't normally seen by us in the race. So we end up on the Kemmel Straight now, thinking this is going to be a bit more difficult than before, but we get a good view of something going on in front of us. There's a lot of smoke. We follow on board just with this car as they were coming into Le Pont, and they just completely missed the braking point, launching into the back of Bernard, who we saw earlier. And Bernard comes off the worst there. The yellow car, though, at least has a decency to slow down, let Bernard get going first. However, Bernard is now on a direct course, and we nearly catch him. This was my own fault, really. I'm on a single screen, and I didn't quite have the field of view to see that Bernard was rejoining sharply. Something I should have taken into consideration and left him more space, but I'll keep that in mind for next time. We're focusing now at the end of the second lap. I've managed to catch up to the group of cars in front. We are just over a second behind them, which is going to be very critical in pushing to catch up to them. However, we've just got a call on the radio that there's been an incident to turn one, so I'm watching that smoke. You can see just to the inside. However, I still need to try and get a good exit to keep with this group, and there's just nothing in front of us. But look behind in the rear view mirror, there's been a big accident, two cars, and that's two positions for us. And looking at what happened there, these two cars really just check up, and looks like this guy had his brake bias too far back. It's not too bad of a spin. He could have recovered that, but he keeps rolling backwards, not holding his brakes. And the car behind him, expecting that he would hold his brakes, did try to just go for what might have been a dangerous gap. However, he gets that closed and doesn't seem to be too happy about that in the end. Back to us though, and we are now on the Kemmel straight, just under a second still from the cars in front, but I feel I can definitely make that up as we're coming into Le Combe. Opening up that corner on the curbing and really throwing the car in. Short shifting into second was my trick here to really get that rotation in the second part so I could get a good exit. And you can see we've gained 5/10 on them in front of us just by doing that. And into the long right once again, we're going to close up on these two. Now for No Name, I actually found I preferred using the extra bit of curb there, though I turned in a little bit too late, so I didn't really gain too much from that. And now Muna is on his push to pass. He's using that extra 50 brake horsepower to pull alongside Jalla. I aim for the apex here, seeing if I can follow Muna into it, and we're able to make the space with Jalla. Muna's now going to the inside defending. I'm not really going for the attack here, but I find myself around the outside of Muna. Now I'm going to try and follow through with it by holding tight to the inside on the second part of Piff Path, and we get two positions in 2 turns, which isn't bad at all. That's going to help us get in those places up before the end of the race. Now, they do have the chance to re-attack me, but I've got to be careful coming through Stavlo. I can't use the push pass there, otherwise I will lose the rear end, which has caught a few people out in some of the races since this one. And Muna is close enough, but he doesn't seem to be using his push pass to really gain on me here. He's just using the slipstream. So I'm not going to be too pressured into the bus stop. I can take the usual line, braking quite late just before the curbing. Down into first, just to get that extra bit of rotation. Muna went very deep in the first part, which cuts off a lot of his exit speed and gave us a nice gap heading onto the Kemmel straight, where I'm greeted by two cars going side by side into Le Combe, which is just what I need to make catching up to them that little bit easier, especially whilst I'm trying to save my push to pass. You can see in the top left box on the dash, I have 119 seconds remaining out of the 150 I started with. I'm hoping that by having plenty of it left towards the end of the race, I'm going to have a good offset towards the other drivers who are likely using theirs, whilst they're battling like we saw in the last lap. Now through that section, the car in front has come off the worst out of the two of them. This will let me have a chance if I can close up a little bit more coming out of Stavlo. I'm going to try and use my push to pass at that point because I can get the most out of it. Coming into Piff Path, I can really throw the car in, and I do go a little bit too far on that left-hand curve, which is what causes my little lock up there, and I lose momentum now on the exit, but I'm still nice and close. That's all I have to be as we're coming up to Stavlo, using the far left curve again to try and open up that corner. And here, looking back, I should have been on the push to pass. I could have potentially got past him before we got into the bus stop. But it looks like I was just trying to really save perhaps a bit too much, and it's going to actually work out because as we pull to the inside to avoid the slipstream, he backs out, surprisingly, perhaps not wanting to really fight at this stage of his race. And so we get the position quite comfortably into the bus stop, and we're actually now not that far behind the cars in front of us as well. So that's actually worked out quite nicely because we now have some extra push to pass for the end of the race. And we're back onto the Kemmel, and we can once again see the two cars in front going side by side, which is what I want to see because it will help us like it did last lap, as they are now considerably slower. And we're just really closing in. That's almost a second gain to both of them just through Le Combe. Maybe we might be able to get some more and hopefully get up behind them just before Pouhon. As we come down through Bruxelles, just carrying the speed, getting on the power, as I see that curbing coming around on the left-hand side. Don't get the best entry here into No Name, but I get on the power. And it looks like the car in front didn't do much better, but they're going to use their push to pass to try and normalise the difference. I'm still saving mine as we come into Pouhon and just trying to stay nice and close to the rear Skerritt because he's lost the toe of the car in front of him, which makes our overtaking chances out of Stavlo a lot easier. Even though we don't know how much push to pass he has left, we still have plenty though. We have nearly 112 seconds and we're on lap 5, almost halfway through the race. So we've got plenty of usage out of it. And Skerritt gets a bad exit coming out of the dogleg, and now through Stavlo I'm nice and close behind him, getting on the push to pass as I should do. Skerritt's holding the inside, but looks like they're not using their push to pass to defend here. However, they are still very quick. I've come off mine because I'm just far enough ahead of them. And I still have to leave space for Blanchimont just in case. And now coming into the last chicane, nice and late on the brakes. A bit too deep there I go, but I'm able to keep control of the car and just about in touch with that Williams livery in front of us, who was the same one we saw at the start of the race. We've managed to now catch up to them, and we are now chasing them down on the run to Rouge and Radion, using as much of that slipstream at this stage because I'm going to get a much better run on the exit of Radion than them. And it seems we're really closing up. I'm not even really using the push pass, so I probably should be here because it would have helped on the run into Lacombe. I'm using a little bit more now just to try and get a lot further alongside. I'm surprised they're not defending it, but we're now to the inside of Lacombe, trying to leave space, but I see we get the all clear, so I do move back over, cutting them off a little bit, but we avoid any sort of incident. We've now got the position on them. However, they are still very close to our rear, so I have to be careful coming down the long right Bruxelles. He's keeping touch, and I know he must be a quick driver to have got up this far, so he could potentially launch an attack back at us. However, he's going to get a bad exit coming out of No Name, and that's going to let me start pulling away and pull a good enough gap. It did take 2 laps though to catch up to the next group of cars, so we are now here on lap 8. We have a big pack of cars in front of us. This extends all the way up from P8 where I'm at to P3, so there's potentially more places on the table, but we are entering the closing stages of this race. There's only 2 more laps to go. I still have a lot pushed past left, but I'm still going to try and save it because there's a lot of slipstream available to me here, and I don't know how much the guys in front of me have, so I don't want to waste it when they can use theirs to defend. So I'm just following Hendel's slipstream in towards Lacombe. Just look at the speed we're carrying. We are almost at VMAX. These cars only hit about 280 kilometers an hour with the push to pass active, so we're not that much slower not using it in this situation. And through the Lacombe section, we are on the limit, and Kendall in front is even more because you can see he barely keeps it together. But now we can close up nice and tight for Bruxelles, but this isn't really an opportunity. I need to get a good exit out of No Name if I want to get him into Puon, but I wash wide and I don't get a good exit, so he is now going to start pulling away from us, potentially using some of his push to pass. I don't know, there's no real indicator. You can only really go off the fact that their cars may start accelerating a lot quicker than what you might be able to. That's fine by me though, because you can see I still have over 70 seconds, so I can really use it on that last lap. I'm hoping that will be the best opportunity because these guys are all fighting. This is a really tight group, so it is going to be difficult to get past them because Hendel has got the slipstream of the cars in front, and though I have his, it's not going to be enough naturally without any sort of assistance. As a Stavlo, I'm on push to pass just a tiny bit just to make sure I'm still with him. However, you can see there's no real gain at this stage, so I'm going to just try and play it safe because they are going too wide through Blanchimont, which means that they are going to be very close together coming into the bus stop, meaning there's a good chance there could be an incident, and I really don't want to get caught up in any of that, so I'm off the power, braking nice and gently here because you can see just how slow Hendel is through the first part of the bus stop. And now I want to really pressure him into turn 1 because he seems to be the weak link in the chain. He's fallen a bit further behind, but you can see straight away he's using his push pass to defend, so I don't use mine. I do actually try here to set up for a better exit, but I misjudge my position and I go a little bit too slow, which means I lose momentum and we're sort of reset, so it's not worked out for me, and I now need to use my push to pass in order to try and catch up to him again on this penultimate lap. I'm using more coming up Eau Rouge and Radion because that is a better use. That extra incline means that you get more out of that extra 50 brake horsepower. And now Hendel has seen me closing up on him, so they are again on their push to pass. I come off mine because you can see we are now at VMAX coming into Lacombe. I'm just going to try and get a better line on the exit, and we have a car going wide across the sand watching their rejoin. Hendel is tucked in behind them, but I see an opportunity to the inside, so I'm using that push to pass now as we're side by side with Hendel, and I break that a little bit later into Bruxelles, and we're able to finally get the position now right behind this next car. I'm thinking I can potentially make this a twofer, so I try and set up for the exit out of No Name, but they get a little bit of a wiggle on, which catches me off guard. I'm on the push to pass though, so we are now side by side into Boom. I come off trying to hug that inside line, but there's actually some contact between us. I got a 0x. We're going to see that, unfortunately, as I'm coming a bit closer, I did actually check to my right-hand side for the distance between us, but I needed to open up Puon. And as we enter the corner, there's some netcode contact between us. You can see there was a nice gap, but unfortunately, the iRacing gods did not smile on this guy. And to make matters worse, he's going to lose another position as the car behind seizes the opportunity, seeing him run wide, and they're going to get the other position, knocking them back 2 places. It worked out for us though because we are now up 2 and we have managed to keep in contact with the group ahead. So into the last corner here on the penultimate lap, heading onto the final lap. And we have a good opportunity where we could get up to at least P3 if there's an incident. And I've got all the push to pass to use on this final lap. So we're going to see if they have any remaining to defend me. Coming into the source, Giddings in front of us takes a bit of a dry line, trying to cover that inside so I can't lunge down his inside, and it costs him the speed on the exit as well. So I'm still really tucked up behind him. I'm off the push pass at this stage because I'm just too close. I want to focus on the exit. And I should have been on it a little bit earlier as we entered Eau Rouge, but I'm on the push to pass now, and we're going to see the speed difference between us because it looks like Giddings has no push to pass left. They are not defending. So with that extra 50 brake horsepower, we are sailing past them, coming into La Pomme where I'm on the brakes, but I'm a little bit too quick, so I do miss that apex, and now I wash wide on the second, and Giddings is actually fighting back on us, trying to see if they can use the switchback, and it's working out for them. I'm having to use the push pass again to defend, which is not what I needed, as I'm now on the outside through Bruxelles, just trying to carry the speed around the outside, and I'm just about able to do it. Moving back over for No Name, but I don't get the best run. However, the car behind ends up in the gravel, which is a godsend for me. However, all that fighting has now cost me precious seconds and push to pass, which I might have needed to be up closer to Yi in front of us, who is in P4. And now I just need to try and push as hard as possible, but the front tyres are definitely feeling a bit more worn at this stage. I'm a bit slower into Piv Path, and on the exit I'm getting that little bit more oversteer into the dog leg, and again I'm just having a lot more understeer at this stage. The front tyres are definitely feeling the pain of all the abuse I've been giving them over the course of the race. I'm now going to use the last of my push to pass coming out of Stavlo, but Yi is just a second in front of us. I'm not thinking I'll be able to get him now, but if I can at least be close enough, if he makes a mistake or if there's any sort of contact between him and Alston in front, I might be close enough to make the opportunity work. So I'm as late as possible on the brakes into the bus stop, and Yi actually washes wide. I set up now for the exit on the second part, and we're actually going to draw alongside Yi, and it's a drag race to the finish line, but we just don't have the space, unfortunately, as we cross the line. Still in P5, but that was an amazing finish to the race. Totally not what I expected. I definitely had a chance, so if I had maybe that little bit more push to pass, or if I hadn't been held up quite as much on that last lap, we could have been in for a P4, but I'm still going to be very happy with a P5 finish considering we had to recover from that big incident on the second lap. And we still managed to have a lot of great respectful battles, a refreshing change compared to some of the other series I've raced in the Formula category. So that is going to be the end of today's race. If you enjoyed this content, please give it a like and subscribe, because I am still trying to push this channel further and further, and your support really helps me to do that. So again, thank you very much, and see you next time.